Eli Manning and Peyton Manning have been amazing on Monday Night Football. They called the Packers versus Lions game this week, and last week they had the Raiders versus Raven overtime thriller. At both times, they have been amazing, and they have just been the most entertaining thing on TV. Last week, I kind of joined them a little late. I had forgotten that they were doing this secondary telecast on ESPN2. So I started watching the game on ESPN1, and it was okay. You know, it's what regular, commentator and play-by-play is. But then I was on Twitter and I noticed people were talking about Eli Manning, and I was like, oh, that's right. They do have that secondary coverage on ESPN2. I had seen it on Twitter before too that they were going to do that. So I swapped it to ESPN2, and it was just like from the first few minutes I could already tell, all right, this is way more fun. Obviously they don't have the one thing that the ESPN1 telecast does have over, Peyton Manning and Eli, is that they have like those, quirky stats that sometimes they get overboard, but they're pretty neat sometimes. Like they give you like little like, oh, first player to do this in such and such time, or this hasn't been done since 1966. Like little fun little stats like that. That's the only thing that, in my opinion, ESPN1 with the regular ESPN Monday Night Football crew has over Eli and Peyton. Other than that, Eli and Peyton Manning are just head and shoulders better than the regular telecast. It's fun. It's laid back. They give you insight on the game that you wouldn't normally see or hear with the main guys on Monday Night Football, and I find it very entertaining. I'm a football junkie. I never really played, but I love football, and I understand it, and I love football. I love watching it. I love hearing like the nuances and all that stuff. And the main telecast is not as intricate. It's not as detailed. It's fun. It's entertaining. For the most part, it gets a little dull and it gets repetitive, but it's decent. I mean, I know a lot of people really, really like are passionate about how much they dislike the ESPN1 telecast. For myself, I mean, it's okay. It's not bad. It'll do. I'm kind of used to it. Like it's what I've been known as. The only thing I've known for as long as been watching football is just, yeah, I think of other, play-by-plays and other commentators, and I'm like, all right, I would rather have Romo, or I would rather have, Joe Buck or whatever. Like, but it's more or less the same as any other commentator. It's not terrible in my opinion. It's just decent. It's what I know. So I can't really compare it to anything else. I don't really think they're terrible. I don't really think they're amazing. I just think they're in between. It's what I know. I love football, so I'm obviously gonna watch it. Monday Night Football usually has a good slate of games, so even if I did think it was terrible, I would always be watching it just because it's Monday Night Football, primetime game, good marquee matchups. But what I'm trying to get to is ESPN2 with Peyton Manning and Eli is just 100 times better. This is something that I actually like, given the options, and now I do. I would always, I'm telling my friends about it. I've told my roommates, my friends. I've mentioned it to people. I'm like, hey, you guys gotta watch this Eli versus Peyton. If you're not a football junkie, if you just kind of like football just to watch it, just you kind of keep up with it, I think ESPN1 is fine. But for the people that really want to hear how defenses are breaking down or what people are thinking as the play goes on, I think ESPN2 with Eli and Peyton is just fun. It's good coverage. Eli and Manning jab at each other like brothers do. You're gonna hear Eli just make reoccurring jokes about Peyton's big forehead. And I think the funnest part is that they have guest people come. They have had Russell Wilson. They have had Rob Gronkowski. They had Pat McAfee. They had a lot of people come in, and for the most part, all of them have been, amazing. They've been great. It's been fun. It's been insightful. And then Peyton gives a lot more insight than Eli, but anyone that comes in as a guest, they give a lot of insight. They've had Pat McAfee commentate over the punts. Peyton usually gives his insights on what he thinks is going to happen. And like one of the ones that really caught my attention is when the Raiders on week 1 were on first and goal on overtime, and Eli was just saying like, all right, Derek Carr, you don't need nothing crazy right now. You don't need to get it like a false start. You don't need to do like a hard count or change up your cadence. Like you're already first and goal from the 1 yard line. Getting a neutral zone infraction or like a fall or like a offsides is not going to do much for your offense, because what's the benefit of that? Half the distance to the goal, you're going to get 6 inches, and the downside is for you to one of your guys messes up because you're doing a hard count, you're switching up the cadence, and you get a false start, and now you, instead of being one first and goal from the 1, now you're like first and goal from the 5 or the 6. And sure enough, it happened on second down. Derek Carr did a hard count, or I don't know, he changed up his cadence, and I think his right guard bit on it or like jumped, and they lost 5 yards. And the very next play, on third down, Derek Carr threw interception, and thankfully for the Raiders, they were able to force a fumble and get the game-winning field goal. But if I had been watching ESPN1, I'm 100% sure I would have not caught that. I would have just said, "Oh man, that lineman is dumb. Why is he jumping off sides? Come on, you're first and goal from the second, from the 1. You're second and goal from the 1. Like, come on, just pay attention." But Eli giving me that insight made me realize like it's both of their fault. Obviously, the lineman should have kept his composure and not do the false start. But Derek Carr should also know that, it's second and goal from the 1. It's not like we're gonna get a first down. We're not gonna get a fresh set of downs like on a pass interference. The best that could happen is half the distance to the goal. So why would I do that? Like, I should just hike it, let our man beat their man, and punch it in. And it's basically what Eli was saying, and I agree. It makes sense. I never really even thought of that, but it makes sense. And that's just one quick example, but those are the examples. That's more or less what they give throughout the whole game. And then you add on top of that, they have guests. And then you add on top of that, they kind of make fun of each other. They clown on each other. It's just, in my opinion, way more entertaining. So yeah, if you guys have ESPN2, which I think most people that have ESPN1 have ESPN2, you guys should give it a chance. I think they're going to do 10 games this season. I think Monday Night Football has more than 10 games. So I'm hoping they just let them do all the Monday Night Football games. They rework their contract. But I think they're, on this article I saw, I think it was just for 10 games. So next Monday Night Football, which should be the Eagles versus the Cowboys. That's going to be another good one. I do think they're going to be doing that. Oh, I think right here, now that I'm looking at the schedule, it does say ESPN and ESPN2 on some of them. Or maybe they just haven't made the decision, because after week 3, all of them just say ESPN. But on week 3, and it still says ESPN1 and ESPN2. So maybe they haven't decided which games they're going to do, but they are scheduled to be there for week 3. ESPN2, it shows up right there. Eagles versus Cowboys. Hopefully they're there for week 4, Raiders versus Chargers, because I think that's going to be an amazing game too. And then after, they have the Colts versus Ravens. That's going to be great. Peyton's old team. Titans, Bills after that. So Monday Night Football is what I've been saying. They have amazing matchups on Monday night. So regardless if Eli and Manning aren't calling, you're always going to watch, just because these matchups are amazing. And like I said, the ESPN1, their guys are fine. I don't really understand the hate that other people have for their commentators. Like, I'm not trying to say they're amazing, but at the end of the day, this type of commentating is kind of what we're used to. Or maybe it's just me. I've just been like accustomed to it over time. But I don't think they're terrible. But Peyton and Eli, those guys are amazing, in my opinion. But make sure to take a look at them next week, Eagles versus Cowboys, and then let me know if I'm crazy, if they're just annoying. I do think sometimes you can lose focus of the game and just pay attention to what Eli and Peyton and their guests are talking about. So I could see that argument if there's any people out there that are going to say the ESPN1 telecast is better. I could see that argument. Like, sometimes I would, especially when Pat McAfee and Rob Gronkowski came onto the show, or to ESPN2 as guests. They kind of got sidetracked, and I was just kind of paying attention to Eli, um, Peyton, and Rob Gronkowski, or Eli Manning, Peyton, and Pat McAfee. But I think that also had to do with the game. It was the Lions. It was the second half, and the Packers were taking control of the game, and it wasn't too entertaining. So it's fine in my opinion. But make sure to take a look for week 3 and let me know what you guys think.